Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 10 of Pumpin Iron, the review series for the classic muscle cars of GT6. And in this episode we're featuring one of the best muscle cars in the game. And not only one of the best muscle cars in the game, but actually for pure performance for money and value for money, one of the best cars in the game in general. And in fact, this car almost made it into my top 20 best value for money cars in the game. It didn't quite make the final cut, but it almost did, because it is a brilliant vehicle. So, what makes it so good? What's so special about this car? It is, of course, well, I say of course, perhaps unknown to some people, based on the classic Mustang. And this car is very cheap. For a muscle car, it's 47 grand, which is significantly cheaper than most of the other muscle cars in the game. So that doesn't exactly sound like a good start. Cheap doesn't usually equal good. It's also not particularly physically imposing for a muscle car. It's reasonably long at 15 feet, but again, not that special. And it's one of the narrowest muscle cars in the game, at 5 foot 10 inches wide. So again, with muscle cars, usually bigger is better. Also with the engine, it's big, but not that big, at a 390 cubic inch or 6.4 litre supercharged V8. It wouldn't exactly turn heads in a muscle car category. However, what would turn heads is what it can do with those specs, because that 6.4 litre engine and that narrow, compact Mustang-based body put together make one of the most formidable muscle cars and one of the most formidable classic cars in the game. Because that engine, when fully tuned, puts out 843 horsepower. Okay, not the highest in the muscle car class. It also puts out 1,000 pound-feet of torque, and that is among the highest in the muscle car class. That's almost the same level as the Oldsmobile Tornado. But not so many people think of this car in the same light as the Oldsmobile. One other major advantage that this car has over many of its brethren, including the Tornado, is its weight. It only weighs 1,161 kilos, which is track car territory. And 1,000 pound-feet of torque going through an 1,100 kilo car, that's good and bad. Good in as much as having so much pure torque, which is literally the twisting power of the engine, going through such a lightweight body is going to give you phenomenal acceleration. The main downside, however, is that because you've hardly got any weight grounding the driven wheels, it's kind of prone to wheel spin. Now in the case of this car, it actually doesn't wheel spin anywhere near as much as you might expect it to. It wheel spins if you want it to, and if you floor it out of a corner, of course it's going to try and shred its tyres. But there are some muscle cars with even less power that are more tail happy than this one. What about pure straight line performance? Because with muscle cars you can never really tell. It's kind of a mixed bag. Some are pretty good, some are a bit meh. This one is excellent because it has a top speed of over 260 miles per hour without NOS or draft, and with very minimal experience of tuning necessary to attain that performance. The acceleration, again thanks to the low weight, is very, very quick, especially mid-range, and can wipe the floor with most other muscle cars. The handling is surprisingly good, to be honest, mainly again due to its relatively compact size and very, very low weight. In fact, all the things that I'm saying can be summed up really by saying that this car is, above all, versatile. That's why it's so good. It's cheap, it has excellent top speed, which makes it a good special stage Route X racer. It has excellent acceleration, which makes it a good drag car. It has fantastic drift potential because of the high torque and low weight. It's also lightweight in general, which means it's a good low PP track car. And all of that is in one car, which means that for overall ability, it's almost unbeatable in the muscle car class. Now, I'm not necessarily putting the stamp of saying that this is the best muscle car in the game, but unofficially, I'm kind of hinting at it, because this car takes some beating. It is a brilliant machine, and although I'm not a fan of the car that it's mechanically based on, the classic Mustang, I am a fan of this car, and although I don't use it as much as it deserves to, that's mainly because it just doesn't come to mind as readily as some others like the Charger or Cougar. But for pure all-round ability, it'll be hard to find a car, especially a muscle car, that's better all-round than this one is. And if you haven't got this car in your garage, to be honest, regardless of whether you're specifically a muscle car fan, it's a very handy car to have in your collection. It's very little money to pay out, and it makes a brilliant machine for so many different things. You can have multiple tunes, you can have multiple cars even, some for drifting, some for drag, some for top speed, some for pure track machines, and it's brilliant at all of them. So, an excellent car, with, to be honest, no real downsides. The tail-happy nature is pretty much the only thing I could say about it that's not quite good in the strictest sense of the term, but even then it doesn't wheel spin as much as even some muscle cars with less power. So, that's about all there is to say really. It's a brilliant car, and if you haven't tried it, I'd strongly recommend that you give it a go. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.